everyone, welcome back to the channel. First of all, I would like to apologize for not uploading the video last week. I had to take a short break due to medical reasons, but I am back and we are continuing our ISO 42001 series. And if you have been following this series and you already know that what we have covered as a part of foundations of AI management systems and the key requirements leading up to implementations. But now we are moving into a very important area. How do you actually make sure your organizations has right people, resources, awareness, communications, and documentations to manage AI responsibly? That's exactly where the Clause 7 support comes in. So in this video, we will break down ISO 42001 Clause 7 in a simple and the practical way, covering resources, competency, awareness, communications, and documented informations. So whether you are preparing for ISO 42001 implementations or an internal audit, or if you are simply trying to understand what AI management system works in the real world, this is the clause you will definitely don't want to skip. So let's get started with ISO 42001 clause 7, which is support clause. The first clause is clause 7.1, which requires an organization to ensure that adequate resources are available to establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve the AI management systems. Resources includes like human resources, human resources like data scientists, ML engineers, project managers, legal and compliance experts, and other human resources which are required for your AI management systems or for your development of AI systems or for managing your AI systems. The next is technology resources, which can include your AI development or infrastructure or your platform, your monitoring tools, your logging systems, your testing mechanisms, testing tools, your infrastructure, your cloud services, and so on and so forth. Financial resources includes your budget allocations for AI, MS operations and training, investments for infrastructures required for AI systems. Then knowledge skills. Knowledge skills requires your training programs for responsible AI culture and practices, internal knowledge sharing platforms, access for evolving standards, regulatory updates, and best practices to be shared within the organization. So this is the examples where we will require your right resources, right technology, right tools, right budget, and knowledge and skills. So management should regularly review whether the existing resources are enough for your AI technologies and the AI systems, yes or no. If not, then we have to keep on updating as and when required, whether it is a human resources, whether it is a tools and technologies, whether it is financial resources, or whether it is knowledge and skills. So we have to keep on investing, keep on updating ourselves based on the uh, needs of improvement. The next we have is competency, which is 7.2. So why competency is critical for in the AI governance? AI presents unique challenges such as algorithmic bias, data privacy risk, explainability, and evolving regulations that requires a specialized interdisciplinary knowledge. Without proper competency, risk may be underestimated or mishandled. So AI models may fail to meet ethical, legal, or performance expectations. So the AIMS may lose credibility and becomes ineffective. Stakeholders may misinterpret AI decisions, leading to poor outcomes or loss of trust. So competency ensures that the decisions about AI systems are informed, contextualized, and accountable. So the requirement of 7.2 is determine the necessary competency of the person doing the work under its control that affects AI systems performance or AI MS effectiveness. Ensure the persons are competent via educations, it can be via training or via experience. Take actions to acquire competency and evaluate effectiveness. Retain documented evidences for competency. So whatever training we do, whatever certifications we do, right? So we have to make sure that we have evidences of everything. So for doing this, what we need to do is we have to do a gap assessment, identify current competency levels of all your employees, compare them against the roles and responsibilities defined in your AIMS, develop a training and upskilling program, provide a formal training on AI ethics, regulatory compliance, data handlings, and emerging technologies, facilitate collaborations between technical and legal and business teams to build holistic understanding, encourage certifications in AI governance like data privacies, ISO standards, and last but not the least, keep records of qualifications, training, completions, and experience relevant to AI related works. So for this, we need to make sure that we have records available for this, right? So as we have seen that we need to have a competency in different kinds of domains. It can be a technical, it can be ethical, legal and regulatory, risk management, security and privacy, or it can be in communications. So I've given the examples, you can see the examples here. So technical can be your AI/ML development, data science, ML ops, software engineering. Ethical can be your bias identification, impact assessment, value sensitive designs. Legal and regulatory is AI regulations. It can be EU Act, Data Protection Act, GDPR, or any kind of applicable regulatory laws. Risk management will be your risk assessment process, migration planning, incident response planning. Security and privacy, it can be your adversarial robustness, data minimizations, access controls, doing a VAPT, security testing, right? Communications can be your model explainability, stakeholders engagement, documentations. The next we have is clause 7.3, which is awareness. So we have to make sure that everyone is aware about the AI policy, AI risk, ethical responsibilities, and their roles in the AIMS. So the must-to-have requirement is person doing the work under organization control must be aware of AI policy, about their contribution to AIMS effectiveness, implications of non-conformance, relevant risk and opportunities related to AI systems they work on or with, ethical and legal and regulatory expectations associated with AI systems. So the key awareness topics can be your EI policies, bias and fairness risk, model documentation standards, regulatory classifications of EI systems, customer impact, explainability, changes in AI use case, data flow, third party model risk, secure coding practices, integrations with governance tools and audit logs, AI risk landscape, stakeholder expectations, reputational impact, right? So these are all the topics where awareness can be provided to the employees, those who are working for your AI systems or for effectiveness of the AI management systems. So why awareness is essential in AI governance? So AI systems often involve many hands across many disciplines like engineers, analysts, product managers, legal advisors, and external vendors. So without shared awareness, critical governance steps may be overlooked or misunderstood. So employees may act in a way that unintentionally reduce risk or non-compliances. The AIMS becomes disconnected from day-to-day work opportunities or improvement or risk mitigations go unreported. So awareness helps ensure that ethical principles, compliance requirement, and organization values are applied consistently across your AI systems and AIMS management program, not just in theory but in practice. So, how to promote awareness effectively and incorporate AIMS principles into onboarding and regular training. So, cover AI ethics, compliance expectations, and governance roles from day one, right? So, when the people on board, we have to make sure that in their induction program, we can cover all these topics. Then we can use internal communications channel wisely, like sharing the brief updates, tips, or examples through newsletters or internet posts or leadership town hall meetings. Then we can also have integrated into our workflows like include reminders on checkpoints about AI policies, risk into project planning, model reviews, or code releases. Then we can also encourage active participations like invite questions, feedbacks, real world concerns, create a culture where governance is not only but openly discussed. We can also tailor messaging like avoid generic communications, ensure relevance by aligning messages with teams, specific context, and responsibilities. Right. So we can use this kind of techniques to make sure that we promote awareness effectively. Then we have 7.4, which is communication. Communication says that what to include in the communications, what to communicate, when to communicate, with whom to communicate, how to communicate, and who does the communications. So, communication has total five requirements: what, when, whom, how, and who does the communications. Effective communication is the backbone of any kind of management systems. When it comes to AI governance, it is even more critical. Clause 7.4 of ISO 2001 ensures that the organization has a structured and intentional approach towards internal and external communications that supports effectiveness of AI management systems. Example includes communicating your AI policies to employees, reporting AI incidents to the management, informing customers about AI usage where appropriate, and responding to the regulatory requirements. So clear communications improves a transparency, build stakeholder trust, and ensures everyone understands their responsibility. So we have a template for this. I will show you the template by the end of the slides. Clause 7.5, which is documentation. So clause 7.5 focuses on documented information. So simply implementing AI management system is not enough. We also need to have a documented processes and the records aligned with your AI management system. Documentation includes your procedures, policies, guidance, and records includes your evidences of activities which are being performed. So the requirement says that create and maintain a documented information is required by AIMS. Control documents and records to ensure that they are accurate and up to date. Ensure documents are available as and when required. Protect information from unauthorized access and loss or modifications. Review and update documents regularly. So we need to have a proper frequency for reviewing and updating the documents. Retain the records as evidence of compliance and effective management system. So the documented informations include both documents and records. So document describes as what should be done, such as policies, procedures, and the guidelines. So document must have the proper identification and descriptions, which includes your reviews and approvals and the version control. And records provides an evidence of what has been done, such as an audit reports, a training records, a risk assessment, or an incident log, right? So that becomes your record. So the examples are the policies and procedure includes your EA policies, EA risk assessment procedures, EA impact assessment procedures, EA objectives, internal and audit procedure. Records and evidences includes your risk assessment results, risk treatment plan, EA impact assessment, competency records, internal audit reports, right? So the common audit findings are like organization have the policies but lack of records. There is no evidences that procedures were actually followed. So for example, a risk assessment procedure is there, but they have not completed the risk registers, so that becomes your non-conformity. That means have the procedure, but you don't have the records available for that. That is it. We have covered all the clauses. Let us go and see the documentation which are required for this clause 7. So the very first document is we need to create an AI resource or AI system tracker, which includes your competency matrix, which can include your training register, infrastructure register, AI tools, resource assessment. You can create a separate sheet for this. I have included in one single sheet. So the first sheet is about the competency matrix. So here you can see I have included different roles: AI developer, data scientist, ML ops, AI product owner, risk analyst, HR recruiter, and their departments, their required AI competencies. They require, so for example, AI developer require ML. They need to have the knowledge about ML, Python, secure coding, AI risk. Current competencies what they have ML, Python, secure coding. Whether there is a competency gap, yes or no. If it is yes, you can identify the training required to further gain more competencies. Training plan date, competency status, who is the reporting manager, comment if there is any. Like this, you can have the competency matrix created for your entire organization. Then we need to have a training register for this competency matrix. So for example, we have uh, identified that this there is a competency gap, and for this we also identified a training requirement. So whether those trainings are being completed, yes or no, or any other trainings which we have planned for the entire organizations, that needs to be part of your training register. So here you can see training ID, training name. The first training is about AI policies and responsible use, which is a awareness kind of a training, which is applicable for all the employees in the organization. Who was the trainer? The compliance team was the trainer. The frequency, whether we have a defined frequency for that. If it is annual, half yearly, quarterly, we can define that. Training date, whether it is completed or it is in progress or it is in plan. If there is any evidence of that, you can mention the evidence of that, who is the owner of it, and any kind of comments applicable to that particular training. So like this, we need to have a training registers. So here you can see there are different examples. I will be uploading this entire document in my GitHub repository at the end of this video series. So you can take the reference of this documentations and you can fine tune according to your organizational requirements. Then we need to also have the resource registers like infrastructure register, which includes whatever resources you have in the organizations that you can identify. You can create a list of that and you can update in the infrastructure register. So here you can see I have updated this. So the first is resource ID, the resource name. First resource is like AI, Azure AI production. Resource type is cloud infrastructure. Purpose of this is host approved AI services. System support is knowledge assistant. Who is the owner of that? IT operations team. Availability requirement is like 99.90%. Status, whether it is active or not. Location, whether it is in specific location, India or outside India, or any kind of specific comment for that particular resources. Another example is about GPU validation cluster. The resource type is compute. Purpose is independent model testing. System supported is fraud detection system. Owner is AI engineering team. Availability requirement is 99.50. Status is capacity gap. Capacity gap means we don't have enough capacity of GPU available. Location, whether it is in India or any specific city, you can specify that. Comments here, you can also see that capacity upgrade track in resources assessment, right? So we also need to upgrade the capacity for this particular resource. Then we also need to have the AI resource, AI tools register, right? So whatever AI tools we use for our AI systems or for the entire organization, we need to have a proper register for that. So you have to maintain the AI tools register. So here you can see tool ID, tool name is TensorFlow, version, if there is any specific version we are maintaining. Purpose is for model development and validations. Who is the owner of that? Whether it is approved, yes or no. Risk assessment completed for this particular tool, yes or no. If no, you can also include this in your risk assessment template. What was the approval date? Whether it is active or whether it is discarded. Comment, you can have appropriate comment for that. So here you can see there are different tools which I have mentioned, like TensorFlow, Azure OpenAI Services, Microsoft Copilot, MLflow, Power BI, open source LLM, Sandbox, resume screening model, right? So here, like this, you can create your own AI registers, AI tool register, and you can maintain the all the tools in that. So whatever AI systems we have, we also need to have a proper resource assessment for that. So first is AI system, which is fraud detection systems. Resource type is infrastructure. Resource name is GPU validation cluster. So here, this GPU validation cluster we have seen in the infrastructure register. Educate yes or no. If it is not, you can specify no. Gap identified is validation job exceeds approved test windows. So it is exceeding the time limit, right? Action required is adding two more GPUs and the defined capacity trigger. So we need to upgrade your GPU cluster, and we also need to have some kind of trigger if the resource limit is being reached. What is the target date of completions? Who is the owner of that? Whether it is in progress or completed or educate, and we need to have a proper comment for that if there is any specific comment. The next we have is knowledge assistant. The resource type is your human resource. Resource name is AI product owner. Whether it is educate, yes or no. If there is any gap identified for that, you can mention that. If there is any action required further on this, you can mention what action that needs to be taken. Target date of completions, owner, status, and comment. So like this, you can create your own resource assessment document. Then last one is resource review log. So whatever resources we have, we also need to keep on reviewing that on a timely basis, right? So here you can see I have created a template for that. Review date is you can mention the review date. You can mention a resource categories, infrastructure, whether it is data, competency, tooling, whatever it is. Resource name is Azure AI production. You have seen this resource name in the infrastructure register. Education status is whether it is educate or not. You can specify that. Any specific issues identified, yes or no. Action taken, you can specify any kind of action taken. Responsible owner for that. Next review date and the comment. The next example is data, which is a fraud label. Needs improvement. Inconsistent false positive reviews. Action taken is opened RA004, which is your risk assessment, and assigned monthly sampling. Who is the data owner for that? Next review date and the comment, right? So like this, you can update your own review logs. You can create your own review logs, whatever review you are doing, and you can compile all the reviews. Then the last one is documented information. So we have seen that we need to have proper documentations, whether it is a record or whether it is an evidences, right? So documentations includes your uh, clauses, whatever mandatory documents you require for your clauses, and you can specify all those documentations like this, and you can create a record for the documented informations. So here I have created two different whether it is mandatory documents or whether it is a good to have documents. So all the mandatory documents for specific clauses like 4.1, whatever document we require, which is SWOT analysis, 4.3, which is scope document information. For leadership, whatever we require is AI policies. 5.3 requires your roles, responsibilities, and authorities. So like this, you can create your own matrix where you can maintain all the documentation required for your AI management system. That is it for this video. In the next video, we will be covering operations, which is clause 8. So in this, there are total four clauses, which is operational planning and control, AI risk assessment, AI risk treatment, and AI system impact assessment, right? This we have already covered in clause 6. Clause 6 was actually about the planning. This is about execution of that. So whatever we have seen in the clause 6, we will be doing the executions of those in the clause 8. So thank you for watching, and if you like the video, please do hit like button and do share and subscribe so that it reaches more and more audiences. And if you want any specific content to be covered, you can drop me a comment in the video. I will try to cover those topics as well. Thank you. See you in the next video.